Did you know that 40 million people go under anesthesia annually in the United States? 230 million go under anesthesia worldwide. So when you go into anesthesia, of course, you're in a deep sleep. Some people say it's the best sleep they've ever had. Just you're not dreaming, you're not thinking, you're just in this deep sleep. You're unconscious, you're not aware of anything around you, you can't hear anything, you can't feel anything. And usually after surgery, they give you medication to wake you up. Hi, I'm Karen Elizabeth, Patton Jack's baby girl, and welcome to Karen's Inquisitive Corner. So, as I said, when you go under anesthesia, you're supposed to be asleep, you're supposed to be unconscious, you're not supposed to hear anything, and you're definitely not supposed to feel anything, right? No pain at all, usually. But did you know that out of every 1,000 surgeries, 1 to 2 people are awake? So you think 230 million surgeries across the world, and out of every 1,000 surgeries, 1 to 2 people are awake. They actually wake up during surgery. Yes. Karen, are you saying that people wake up during surgery? Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. And it's called anesthesia awareness. Who knew? People under surgery, it's a very rare condition though, but 1 to 2 people out of every 1,000 surgeries will wake up during anesthesia. They can actually gain partial consciousness, and some of them can actually gain full consciousness, meaning it's cases reported everywhere where people have waken up during surgery. They can hear the doctors talking, they can hear the music doctors play. Yes, doctors have certain type of music. It can be jazz, it can be rap, it can be opera, it can be anything that they like to hear, usually during surgery. Also, doctors and nurses may conversate over the patient's body and say things that they probably should not say. So if this patient is laying on the table, but you have to realize they're paralyzed, they cannot move. So the paralyzing agent in the anesthesia is working. They can't move. Some cannot talk, but they're very conscious of what is going on with them. They can hear the doctors talking, they can hear the instruments clicking together, they can feel pressure in the site or wherever they're doing the surgery. And some people can actually feel the pain. So let's imagine you're in surgery, you're under anesthesia, you cannot move your body, you cannot talk, you cannot open your eyes, but you're very conscious of what is going on around you, even to the point where you experience the pain of the surgery. Yes, that really happens. Rarely, but it does happen. When I was looking at this and researching it, it made me think back to slavery when doctors performed surgery on women during slavery, and they didn't give them any anesthesia because they felt like black people did not have pain, or they could tolerate the pain. So they were given no anesthesia. They were given hysterectomies, all type of exploratory surgery, and they just cut them open with nothing, no anesthesia or nothing. I cannot imagine. I've had several surgeries, and I cannot imagine not having full anesthesia during that surgery. Can you? So look it up. It's tons of documented cases. One patient woke up and the neurologist was clipping an aneurysm in their brain. She woke up and she was able to move, and she grabbed the surgeon's hand and told the surgeon, "You're hurting me." Now, can you imagine what that surgeon probably said or felt? Because this person was supposed to be under anesthesia. One woman woke up during back surgery. She settled out of court for $400,000. Another patient was having heart surgery, y'all, and they had a stroke during the surgery because they were conscious. The shock of being conscious during the heart surgery and not being able to communicate caused them to have a stroke. They settled for $750,000 out of court. Another woman woke up during surgery after a car accident. She said it was the worst pain she has ever experienced in her life. She was not able to communicate. She was not able to verbalize that she was in the pain, and she was paralyzed, so she couldn't move. Another man reported during gallbladder surgery that the pain was unimaginable. He could not move or say anything. So, why does this happen? I'm glad you asked. Several reasons why it happened. Some of it, the majority of it, is just human error because we're humans and that we make mistakes. Not enough medication. Broken machines. Probably didn't check the machines and make sure that they were working properly. Um, not giving enough medication to paralyze you so you can feel the pain of the surgery. I also read where redheads are known to be more resistant to anesthesia. Who knew? So if you have red hair, anesthesiologists know to really, really check your anesthesia to make sure that you have enough not to feel pain and not to wake up during surgery. Also, smokers, um, alcoholics, drug abusers tend to need more anesthesia to keep them under during surgeries. When I was reviewing this, first of all, I was like, "Oh my God! I never ever heard of anesthesia awareness." I was reading where some of the patients were documenting that they felt like they were being tortured. They felt like they were dying. They went into shock because they couldn't believe it. They passed out from the pain because they couldn't stand the pain and they couldn't communicate to the doctors that they were actually feeling it. They had a stroke or a heart attack because of the shock and because of the pain. And it was an unexplainable fear. I can't even imagine. After an event like anesthesia awareness, of course, the patients go through PTSD. They dream about it. They can't stop thinking about it. They have phantom pain. Phantom pain is when you experience pain here, but you're really not having pain. For example, someone with their right leg cut off. They feel pain in that leg, but the leg is not really there. Depression, anxiety, of course, they can't sleep because they have just an internal fear of being awake during anesthesia and actually going through live surgery. They're scared to sleep. They have insomnia. Who knew? So the next time you go into surgery, please make sure that you tell your doctor everything about you, your history, current. Tell them all the medications that you're on, over the counter and prescribed medications. And make sure that when you talk to the anesthesiologist, because they always come into the room and give you a cocktail before surgery, that you understand what they're giving you, how much they're giving it to you, and what are they going to do to check to make sure that you are under enough not to feel anything during the surgery. And it's not just surgeries in the hospital. I read cases where people went through it at the dentist's office when they were supposed to be asleep and they could feel the tooth being extracted or the drill, but they could not respond. Can you imagine the pain? Can you imagine the fear? Can you imagine of just what our ancestors went through? Not having Tylenol, not having an epidural, not having a paralyzing agent, not having anesthesia, just to take a scalpel and cut open and go inside you and cut and pull and replace and look and pull out and put in, and you're awake. The only difference is now a lot of the people have the paralyzing agent where they can't move. And one woman was describing it as she was screaming inside herself, but nobody could hear her outside. But our ancestors were screaming because they actually felt the pain. They weren't paralyzed. I'm sure they probably would have to tie them down because the pain would have been too excruciating to go through to have live surgery. This is Karen Elizabeth, Pat and Jack's baby girl, and thank you for joining Karen's Inquisitive Corner. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.